Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, obviously, a little bit different scenery here because today we're talking about the GM credit cards. The GM has General Motors, the car company, has a credit card line. So what better place to do that than in an actual GM card and drive around a little bit, talk about it. So typical fashion here, of course, we'll talk about the cards themselves, the brief history of them, the earnings, the rewards, the cards, of course, and everything you need to know to figure out, if, especially as a GM owner, if these cards are worth, your time or not. So if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, first things first, the lens of this is obviously going to be as someone who drives a General Motors car. Now, they have a wide range of products. You don't have to drive a General Motors car, actually, but I don't know that they would make much sense for you if you didn't really. So the lens of this, again, and how I got on this was, I went to the dealership as of late, about $1,500 service, and part of that is, you can probably hear it, our roads in Michigan are terrible, right? So I had new tires, you just got to replace things, some kind of Michelin all-season run-flat deals, and then I had a wheel that I needed to get unbent. They sent it to a machine shop, made it back to factory spec, and there you go. But about $1,500. So the question is, if you have this card, would that be a benefit to you as a General Motors customer? So that's what keep that lens in mind as we go. First things first, the history of these cards. Normally we talk about, hey, what's the history of the bank and everything. But, these are now with Marcus. Marcus is by Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is obviously the larger, investment type bank, but they're also the folks behind the Apple Card. They also have Marcus, which is kind of more their retail, consumer facing division, if you will. So originally these cards are with Capital One, and then Marcus, believe it or not, paid about $2 billion, I believe, for the whole portfolio, which moved them over. So they've refreshed them. There are 3 of them. So first of all, that's the history. Now, if you were already a Capital One cardholder, you just got moved over to the new portfolio. But if you're not, then that's where you're going to find them. So first off, let's start off with the cards themselves as far as the earnings and rewards go, and see what you need to know first. So when it comes to earnings and rewards, these cards are going to earn points. They're kind of like cashback cards, but it's basically, they call them points, and you'll see in a second. Now, the points, for the most part, are going to be 1 cent a point, which is very nice. Now, the redemptions here that you're talking about are going to be obviously GM focused. So towards the purchase or lease of an eligible new GM vehicle. Now, you can also redeem up to $250 worth of points per calendar year on non-vehicle GM purchases. So, service plans in case you bend a rim. In Michigan, you always get wheel and tire protection because you just have to have it. Rims or wheels, whatever you want to call it, Sirius XM, stuff like that, you can redeem up to $250 worth. Now, you can also redeem up to $1,000 worth of points per calendar year toward the purchase of a pre-owned GM vehicle. And then there is the option to redeem for $250 a year towards gift cards, but you're taking a massive haircut if you do that. So you really don't want to do gift cards. But again, you can see there is no cash back here at all. Now, when you talk about what do you get with the cards, they're giving you something called, GM on screen now, is GM Gold Tier status. So it's automatic Gold Tier status. As a GM driver, I didn't even know this was a thing, believe it or not, but it's the second level of status, which normally requires 3 years of spend with a minimum $45,000, which seems insane. Quite honestly, if you buy the first car, I don't know how you're spending that much. But the benefits here, again, they'll carry over to the cars, but you're talking about $100 statement credit for every $1,500 you spend on gas with the card in a calendar year. If you drive an electric car, however, because GM is kind of moving towards electric with that new name change, then you can get it credit if you're paying your electric bill. Then you get some credits for detailing as well. So overall, those are the benefits we have to work with. Now, there are 3 cards themselves, so we'll start out first with the GM Extended Family card, kind of a play on the GM Extended or the GM Family Plan, if you will. But this card, very simple, no annual fee, and you're going to get 1x on all purchases. The star of the show is going to be the Mind GM Rewards card, so no annual fee. Multipliers here are going to be quite generous. 7x on GM purchases, 4x on all other purchases. And again, remember, these points are 1 cent per point. Now, benefits here, again, you can see these are basically the gold tier benefits we just covered. The $100 statement credit if you spent $1,500 in gas in the calendar year, or your electric bill, $50 annual vehicle detailing allowance, and they are MasterCard World Elites, which is actually a really nice touch. And then the last card we have is the GM Business Card. So no annual fee, 5x on GM dealership parts and service, and then 3x on gas, restaurants, and office supply stores. So there you have it. Those are the cards themselves. Now overall, I think it's pretty clear the star of the show is the My Rewards card. Now for that card, of course, you can also pick which version you want. You can, if you have a Chevy, GM, Buick, GMC, I think you can pick. Obviously, you get the Cadillac one because that one's black, so that makes the most sense there. But anyways, so overall thoughts here. Again, from the lens we started with, if you're driving a GM car, the thing to keep in mind here is that the dealership structure, right? So you have General Motors, Ford, all of them like corporate headquarters. But for the most part, dealerships are kind of like independently owned or privately owned, right? And they're kind of like buying the inventory, buying the cars from corporate and then selling them. And that's the same thing, because a lot of this comes down to the biggest question people are going to want to know is, can you use your card to buy a car? Well, if you have this card, it does say you can use your card to make a portion of your down payment. They don't specify how much. They really just say it's up to dealership discretion. So the dealership doesn't have to allow you to do this. And, there's actually nothing stopping you from being able to buy a car with a credit card already. People have done it. People in the comments have done it. I think the Points guy, one of the Points guys, people even had a story where they used their Amex Business Platinum to do it and hit that massive sign-up bonus. The real thing that stops you is the fact that most dealerships don't want to do it, pay the processing fee and all of that. So if you get it, yes, you can do it, but it doesn't necessarily carry over to 100% being able to do that. It really just depends on the dealership. Now, as for everything else, it's very interesting because the card, especially the middle one, has tremendous points earning, 7x. I mean, if you went in and had the $1,500, checkup for the bent rim and the new tires and all that, 7x is pretty good. Aside from hitting a sign-up bonus, that's the best you're going to hope to do. But the thing that comes down to is the redemptions are just, they're protecting themselves in the redemptions, it seems like. You can earn a ton of points, and they're 1 cent a point, which is great. But you can see you can only redeem, up to $250 for certain things. There's no cash back if you wanted it. There's no statement credits. There's just the gift cards, which you want to avoid at all costs. So, it's you have a ton of earnings, but it's limited. Now, the miss here, in my opinion, to make these cards great is that what you should be able to do, I understand that GM Financial is where you go. If you finance your car, you go through GM Financial, is separate from Marcus. However, if you were able to maybe pay your car loan or redeem your points to pay your car loan or something, I think that would be fantastic, because you're earning such amazing points on a lot of purchases. Even if you just kept it and used it only at the GM dealership, that would be great. But obviously, they're two separate financing companies, so I don't see that happening. So again, my overall thought with this is, you really just have to figure out how you want to play it. You could, in theory, if you knew you were going to buy a new car or even a used car, because you can do used. I personally buy used, certified pre-owned, and redeem your points that way. Number one, I think it's just going to take some legwork to check with the dealership to make sure you can do it. But it's hard. You don't always know which dealership you're going to buy from, especially in pre-owned. You're just kind of trying to find the best deal, honestly, the best financing rate. So you might have to do some legwork there. And then, potentially you can hit the sign-in bonus, use it for a little bit. You could get the $1,000 off your first purchase of the pre-owned car. You could do that. But then because it's limited, you really have to be into probably, I'd say, upgrading or modding your GM car. Really, you got to be the person who's going to buy wheels, maybe tint the windows, something like that, or you just, maybe you run a business that relies on, some GM cars or something. So overall, that's my thought. I think these are good cards. I think GM or Marcus just kind of protected themselves a little bit in that redemption, which makes it a little bit hard to recommend, but there is still some savings to be had if you don't want to use any other credit cards. Hey, I just want to save money on my car. That's totally respectable. So overall, those are my thoughts as someone driving a GM car. Would I get them? Probably not, because I think over you can probably hit more sign-up bonuses, and it doesn't really benefit me. I can get a lot of 5X back and not be locked into only GM redemptions versus, even though it's, 7X for GM and 4X. So that's kind of my thoughts. But of course, I'll kick it to you guys, and you can let me know your thoughts as well. So anyways, if you found this one interesting, liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. Consider subscribing to the channel. Of course, we're posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, back here on Sundays with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. We're usually just inside and not driving around. But hey, hopefully you like the change up of scenery, and we didn't hit any craters in the road, so the wheel's not bent. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about the GM cards. Do you drive a GM car, Camaro, what have you, and would you consider these? Are you thinking about GM cars, or what would your strategy be? If you were going to purchase a new or used GM car, would you go after these for a year and maybe be able to take $1,000 off of it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and your use cases. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.